Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football section. I'm Tom Webster and I'm once again glad to be joined by Scott. Thanks for joining us again, Scott.
Cheers, Matt.
Uh, right, it's game week 8, but we're going to have a look at game week 7 to start with, and we've got to start with our head-to-head. You've taken a commanding 5-2 lead. You weren't actually that good this week. You only got 60 points, but you're
No,
still miles better than my 43. Although I am blaming the absolutely terrible app um, for not getting me more points because
oh yeah.
with an hour to go, I decided I was going to captain DKD. Um, did it, saved it in the app,
Mm.
and then when I checked after the game, he wasn't my captain. It was still Scott Twine, so brilliant app.
Lovely.
But anyway, on to the awards, and the star man is Jaden Philogene with 28 points, scoring a hat trick against. I can't remember who it were against. Can you remember who it were against? Oh, that's right,
Sheffield United.
Blunt. Yeah, Blunt, that's the one. um, that then takes me on to my aunt's pick, who's uh, Babakari Damare of Leicester getting sent off after about 28 minutes. He got -3, so if you picked him, unlucky. Top team this week, it's got to be Ipswich, beating Sheffield United, as we mentioned earlier, 5-0. That brings us on to the banter team, which again is Sheffield United. Losing 5-0 is pretty poor. I was tempted to put Chef Wednesday in there, but they've, I think, going to have plenty of opportunities to be the banter team throughout the season. So with the change of manager, I think this might be the last opportunity for Sheffield United for a little while. Um,
Yeah.
People's champion, and that case like promotion with 76 points this week. Um, and the participation award, the well done for trying, just is Louth Type on 23 points, which, is not very good at all. Um, Now move on to the league table so far. Special Brew is still at the top. He's on 594 points. In second, moving up to second, taking your spot is That Tastes Like Promotion. He's on 553. You've moved down to third on 543. It's just pretty close. Um, I can see Cleary now. The rain has gone. He's down in fourth on 430. Cleverly named has moved back up to fifth, and Bojong Swan is down in sixth. Um, Now for your ultimate team this week, uh, in goal we have got Kieran Slicker of Barnet. Is actually sorry, it's a 4-2-2 this week, which I think is the first time we've had it uh, at all this season. So, but yeah, like I said, in goal is Kieran Slicker of Barnet on 14 points. Your defence is made up of two of Bosun Lowell, Stoke on 18, Sonny Bradley of Lincoln on 16. Midfield is Ollie Clark, Swindon 22, and Bradley Ibrahim of Plymouth, 16 points. Up front is your star man, Jaden Philogene of Ipswich, 28 points, and Daniel Udo, pairing with him of Salford on 15 points. Now on to game week 8. We'll talk about that. We're going to do my team reveal, and I'm going again with a 2-3-1 because I think midfield's where the points are. Um, and I've gone for Vitek um, from Bristol City as a keeper. They're playing Oxford this week, and that's the second week I've gone for a keeper that's played Oxford. And it didn't particularly help me last week, but I'm hoping this week it will. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, Bristol City have obviously started off season quite strong. I didn't expect them to be scoring so many goals, but obviously you can say they've just played Wednesday, so there's no there's no surprise there. I think when what I remember of Struber, especially towards back end of his tenure. Um, he made us quite defensive, almost. We didn't really concede that many. We didn't really create that many. And I think that that Bristol City team will eventually become that. Um, I think obviously Wednesday game were you know it's not going to be all the case every week, so it is a good pick. Only thing I'm worried about is Oxford do seem to be scoring. They don't necessarily create much, but they've got a couple of decent players. Brannigan in midfield, he always likes a long shot. Whether that's sustainable is another thing. Lancashire, I think he's on loan from Spurs. He's a good option for them. But yeah, I mean, at home, Bristol City against a side that realistically is probably going to be struggling to stay up. Yeah, good pick overall.
Yeah, I mean, I did look at the sort of games that Bristol have won, and they've not particularly played anybody of note. I don't think they've played anybody
No,
above 18th position. Um, but
yeah,
they have put a few of them to the sword. So I were hoping sort of. I think they've won a few sort of 3 and 4 nil.
yeah. Sheffield United
Wednesday
opening day.
Wednesday and United seem to bring to mind when
Take that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, right then. So moving on to my defence, there's only two in my defence, and I've gone for Ruxon of Huddersfield, uh, offered from MK Dons. MK Dons facing a pretty dismal Accrington Stanley side, even though they got a win last week. They've not offered a lot.
No, I'd agree with you. I think Accrington at second worst team offensively in League Two this season. I think they've only created 5.4 expected goals in open play, and that's in 7 games. I think Cheltenham are only side that's worse than that one. Um, I think Offord's probably safest pick because I believe Sanders is out, who
Yeah,
would
he's injured.
be main pick, um, and has not got any others really that scream that. They've got that Ekpiteta, but I'm not too sure on him. I'll have to have a look at that in terms of clearance numbers because it's not one guy doing all things. So McGilvery could be an option for MK defence if you just want to cover it. Um, but again, probably uh, one of the most favourable fixtures, if not the best, for for defensive asset for sure. As for Ruxon, I think Huddersfield defence is going to be quite underrated this week um, because there's other fixtures that I'll come on to that I think are as good. But I like Huddersfield at home to Burton. I think Burton have only scored one or if not two away goals this season. Oh no, they scored two against us. But besides that, they've created nothing away from home. Um, I think they've lost a couple of key players there. Burrell uh, being main one. Um, Obviously Dodgson on at left wing back, along with a couple of others. I do worry for Burton. I think they'll struggle. I think Huddersfield recently have struggled, but I do believe that they're still really good at home. I think we've noticed a bit of a difference between their performances at home and away from home. They don't really concede much at home or concede many chances, if anything. I mean, we saw that when they were away at us in terms of chances. I think we were just quite clinical, to be honest. And obviously, red card did, sort of swing things one way. Um, as for the asset himself, Ruxon, I do like him, but I do have a worry in a sense that um, Huddersfield have so much depth, they have so much quality on bench, and Grant seems to be one of the managers like a Guardiola, say, who's afraid to use his bench quite a lot. And I think Ruxon's fall man for that. If he needs to change things up, he could potentially get subbed off before 60th minute, as we've seen a couple of times. And then obviously they don't get his clean sheet, so there is a bit of a risk with that. But his attacking threat is really good on that left hand side. He does get up, he plays that beat a role effectively on that left hand flank. So a good pick, but a risky one in terms of minutes.
Right, so I might have to keep an eye on that one. Um,
Yeah,
as from a midfield, I'm sticking with Twine and Keeler Dunn from last week, but I've subbed in Norwood from Stockport. His numbers are really good, and he's coming up against a pretty awful Rotherham side. Um, sorry,
Yeah,
Rotherham fans. Yeah,
truth.
yeah, the truth hurts sometimes. So I
Yeah,
feel like there's definitely some points to be had from him. In fact, I've
yeah,
captained him. Um,
yeah. Um, yeah, I think with Norwood, you're always going to get at least like two interceptions with him. He's just so consistent with that. And he does like a shot off, even though he does play in defensive midfield, but he's on corners, he's on free kicks, he's on penalties. So he's got multiple routes to points there. He's probably the most balanced asset in the game. And I'd say he's going to be one at um, the most what the asset that gets probably the most points come the end of the season because his routes to points are just insane. You can't really go wrong with it. Rotherham again, they don't seem to be properly gelled for whatever reason. I have doubts with manager as well, so there's some interception potential, and they don't do well from set pieces, and I'm unsure on Dawson in net. I think he's a bit dodgy, so I won't be surprised if he lets one in from a free kick that shouldn't have gone in, sort of thing. So a good pick. You can't go wrong with Norwood in any week. To be honest, for me, I think he's again most balanced asset in game. As for DKD, yeah, he's in my team as well. I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, he's a midfielder that plays number nine. He gets bucket loads of chances. He's playing against a side that are struggling at the minute. I know Blackpool are a bit better at home, but I think if we score early on Saturday, I think that they could, heads down, and it could end up being a cricket scoreline. Fingers crossed. And I think Bruce could be a manager that could be getting sacked quite soon if that result don't go at Blackpool's way on Saturday. So yeah, and he's you can vice captain DKD as well, and if he scores an hat trick, you could play vice captain trick and sub a keeper out, and then he becomes your captain. So there's always incentive for that. As for Twine as well, yeah, I think he's on corners and free kicks. He's probably one of the best dead ball specialists in the world. Playing against an Oxford side that have conceded fun. Um, I don't know how many goals they've conceded specifically, but it seems like every game it's like at least like two or even three. Um, so yeah, you can't really go wrong with Twine at all for me there.
Excellent. So you're pretty happy with my midfield. So that then leads us on to my striker, and I've gone Josh Sargent. I think
Yeah,
he's got 5 in 5. Really, really good, and he's coming up against a pretty slow Wrexham side that seem to concede quite a few goals. I think he could have a bit of fun there.
no, absolutely. Yeah, I think not only with Wrexham, but Norwich themselves have a very good track record at home scoring goals. And I'd even say Sargent's probably the best striker in the league in my opinion. Um, he's absolutely clinical as well. He don't really have to have much chance and he'll score. He's on penalties as well. He plays that central striker position. As you said, Wrexham is so poor this season. I wouldn't be surprised if Parkinson's a manager that could get sacked if results continue to, follow the same trajectory as they have been. I believe it's 15 goals in 7 games, 7 total competitive games for them conceded. That is absolutely dismal. They conceded 3 against a QPR side, which they should be looking to beat at home if we're being totally honest. I think it's just shy of 30 million that Wrexham have invested into playing squad. You don't even get that for some Premier League sides. It's absolutely crazy. Um, but Cody in that centre back position, I think he's too slow. I think he's past it. Um, Absolute food for Sargent, and he's in my team again. It's a no-brainer for me, and I think he should be in everyone's team.
Fantastic. I'm waiting for you to pull my team apart, but you seem to be pretty happy with what I've picked. So we'll move on to the team picks, and I've gone hoping fairly safe this week. Um, with Portsmouth at home, they're pretty good at home, and they're facing a Sheff Wednesday side that is, um, well, I think they've given up. To be honest with you, I think I think most players
Yeah,
there now are just sort of waiting to be relegated,
posted. Hmm.
and I've gone for
Yeah,
MK Dons against Accrington as my second. Again, MK Dons being at home.
yeah. I think Portsmouth you can't really go wrong with, and I think another incentive to Portsmouth is there's not many weeks where you can pick them, sort of thing. You're not going to max them out, whereas you may max other teams out, say Huddersfield or someone like that. So you may as well play Portsmouth now while you still can, basically, because not like I said, there's not going to be many, if any, fixtures where you're looking to be putting Portsmouth as your team pick. So you may as well just get one out of the way while you can. Again, for me, it's a no-brainer. I think they're straight into my side. I think there were a tendency from a lot of people playing this game. They were almost overrating Wednesday, saying that Wednesday aren't as bad as everyone thinks, and I was saying no, no, they are. They're really, really poor. I mean, you've got to take a look at the bench. It's like an under 21 side effectively. They've got nothing on bench. Again, I'd say mid-table League One quality overall. Um, you don't have to overthink that one. It's a straightforward pick for me. And MK Dons, similar sort of thing. Accrington, terrible in front of goal generally. And you'd expect with the quality that MK Dons have. I think Aaron Collins has just come back from injury. So a plus for them. I know they have had some defensive injuries to Sanders, Wilson, and Tomlinson. But overall, squad depth that they've got, quality that they've got, they're at home. You should expect it to be a comfortable win for MK Dons.
Yeah, I would hope so. And I'm going back to the sort of Wednesday thing. I've watched them a few times, and they seem to either capitulate really early on and concede a fair few goals,
Yeah,
or put up a bit of a fight, and then sort of after 70 minutes run out of steam and then lose basically. Um,
yeah.
so is there any wild picks or anything that you want to add to it, or have
Yeah,
we
I
done?
think for me, I think defensively, I think the best fixture and best team to target defensively for me is Stevenage. I think they've got second best defensive record in league. I think they've conceded on that something like 5.28 XG in seven, which is really impressive numbers. They've come up against an Exeter side that are arguably worse. And I think they are, to be honest. I think the worst side away from home. I was listening to some managers' comments from weekend, and he was blaming crowd for reason why they were doing so poorly, which never really goes down well. Um, and yeah, I think Stephen are just such a solid unit overall. Exeter are so poor. I think you play a fixture, and I'm considering doubling up on defensive assets, whether that's Piergiani and Good or Marshall and Piergiani. I'll see, but solid pick. Aidan Flint for Walsall. I think he's a very, very good pick this week. We all know for his tremendous goal threat. I believe he scored something like 12 or 13 one season in League One for Bristol City, something daft like that. Might have even been more, and that was from centre half. And he's still obviously carrying that goal threat now. Playing against a Tranmere side, which in my opinion have been overperforming offensively. I think that they've scored 3 or 4 goals more than they should have. At least that's what data's saying. And Tranmere are quite direct, so say even if they don't get a clean sheet, I'd expect a 5 to 6 pointer for Flint, regardless. And even then, I think they've got a very good chance of keeping a clean sheet with Walsall's own record. Um, as for midfield options, my favourites this week are obviously DKD and Colwell. I think a lot of people might be put off by that Bradford fixture, but I think Bradford away from home are a completely different team to Bradford at home. I think they're quite leaky. They've got some defensive injuries, and I think Cardiff at home are just they're absolutely brilliant. I mean, we've seen them absolutely whop some sides. I think on opening day against Peterborough, I think it was only 2-1, but it could have been 5. And Colwell seems to be their main man sort of thing, so he'd be my midfield pick. As for forward picks, yeah, Sargent would be my favourite. If you want to go a bit different, Colby Bishop for Portsmouth playing Wednesday fixture. Laurent Tollage for Plymouth against Peterborough, who have conceded in every single game. I think they've conceded something like 15 goals, something crazy like that, and that's just in league. And Jata for an interesting shout. I think he's might be playing number 9 position. I believe Dennis could be injured for that game, so he could be back in his normal role. So that could be an interesting shout. And team picks, some different options I'd suggest maybe to look at if you want to. Plymouth at home to Peterborough, Norwich at home to Wrexham, and Stevenage at home to Exeter.
Fantastic. That's a lot of food for thought then for his viewers. Um, well, thank you very much again for joining us, Scott, and thank you very much for everybody that's made it so far in
Cheers,
this
mate.
video. If you did like our content, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will get back to every single comment I have done so far this season. No matter what it says, even if it just says you rubbish and get off our screen, I will reply. So thank you very much for joining us, and see you soon.